Hi, I'm Mrs. Browning, and we are going to finish our last chapter of Pet Wars, chapter 29. I hope you've enjoyed reading Pet Wars or listening to Pet Wars um, with your family. And we want to say a special thank you to Mrs. Gregory for organizing all of the Pet War chapters and ordering the pets and coming up with the idea for us to have the pet store and for our reading teachers for running the pet store and for Dr. Albrecht for getting the books. So we have lots of people to be thankful for because not every school gets to do a special project like this. I think the dogs have won the Pet Wars. What do you think? Have you noticed the long line of dogs?
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
The cats are feeling left out.
The party was nice, the party.
So I don't have a joke, but I did have a song. So here we're going to continue with our last chapter, chapter 29, Saturday, March 31st, Sunday, April 1st, money saved, 0. So, said Mom, intertwining her fingers as we sat around the kitchen table, today's the day. She smiled at Lexi and me. How did it go? Great, I said. Easy. Really? Said Mom, surprised. The contest is over, but if we get a pet, it will still be a lot of work for both of you. Well, we've talked about it, I said, and I'm going to still walk dogs, but I'm going to cut down quite a bit. And I'm going to tutor again, said Lexi, but a lot fewer students. So I guess that means we're getting a pet, said Mom. Otto? I shook my head. Not a dog. I didn't make it. Mom arched her eyebrow, which kind of was like that. Really? You worked so hard too, and you were being responsible. Don't you think I didn't notice? Don't think I didn't notice, she said. I handed her the envelope filled with bills. This is the money I owe you for the toner and the bowls and stuff. I thought we were missing some bowls. Oh, sorry, I mumbled. I guess I wasn't always responsible, but I tried, and we'll have to talk about my grades too. I guess we will, she said in a not very pleased voice. But then she turned to my sister. Lexi, how much money did you earn? Lexi put a large wad of money on the kitchen table, a wide grin on her face. She smiled, but there was nothing sneaky or smug about it. It was just a happy smile. $500, she said, for Fluffernutter. Congratulations, Lexi, I said, and I meant it. I didn't tell Mom about our conversation last night. I didn't tell her that Lexi had fallen short too, but we had succeeded together. This was Lexi's moment. I was actually happy for her. Sort of. Kind of. I know she beats me at most things, but maybe that's because she works harder at it, and I can't hold that against her, at least not totally. It would be nice to have an animal in the house. And who knows? Maybe Fluffernutter would hate Lexi and love me. I wondered if we could make that happen. Keep some milk hidden in my room. Have a drawer filled with secret cat toys. Pipe supersonic noises into Lexi's room that are too high for the human ear to hear, but that a cat could hear, so it would stay away. This wasn't about getting a cat. This was a war. No, strike that. I was done with wars for now. Can we get it today? Said Lexi. There's a house a few blocks away giving away kittens. I just happened to see a posting on a website on your computer this morning. There was a picture, too, and they are so cute. Gold and yellow with streaks of brown. I know just the one I want. There's one kitten that looks just like a Fluffernutter. I admit, the kitten was cute. She didn't have claws yet, so when she swatted your fingers, it felt like velvet cloth rubbing against them. When you held her in your hands, she purred softly, her stomach vibrating. I knew she would grow up to be a standoffish, not very cute adult cat, a yucky, good-for-nothing flea ball, but for now, she wasn't so bad. And I hate to admit this too, but she sort of looked like a Fluffernutter. I wouldn't have named her that, of course, and I would never tell Lexi the kitten looked like a fluffernutter, but the name seemed to fit. And Lexi called her Fluffy for short, which wasn't as awful. I've had plenty of time to play with her since Mom grounded me for 2 weeks because of my grades. That's why we always have to study. Except for the school, dog walking, soccer. Frankly, I feared worse. Fluffy bounded across the carpet and landed in my lap, where I gently scratched behind her ears. She doesn't dislike you, said Lexi. I think there was a tinge of jealousy there. Tinge means a little bit. After all, Fluffy had bounded into my lap and not Lexi's. But I'm sure she will grow to hate you as much as I do. She can never hate you as much as I hate you, I shot back. Lame brain, said Lexi. Cobweb cranium. Dumb skull. These are all names for your head. Cerebellum challenged, amoeba-minded hollow head. But we both smiled after I said it. And you know what? It turns out I'm better at insults than Lexi. Who knew? Lexi lifted the kitten from my lap and held her in her arms. I watched her stroke Fluffy. I liked her more than I thought I would, but she was still no dog. Everyone knows dog people are clever, friendly, and good-looking, funny, and overall fantastically wonderful. Cat people are not. Just because I tolerated Fluffy didn't mean I had turned into a cat lover overnight. Maybe in a year or two, I could convince Mom that pets were okay. A cat and a dog. The sound of barking interrupted my thoughts. A joyful, loud bark from outside. At first, it made me a little sad, as if I was being teased. But the barking was getting louder and closer, and it came from behind the front door, and the doorbell rang. Ding dong! When I answered, there was Dad holding a leash, standing next to him. Tongue and tail wagging was a beautiful light brown golden retriever. At first, I thought it was Alfalfa, but this was just a puppy, and then when I looked into his dark eyes, I recognized him. Thumper! I said. Dad? What's going on? Asked Lexi. She and Mom came into the hall behind me. You know, I always wanted a dog as a kid, said Dad. And all this talk of dogs made me realize I still wanted one. Mom called me yesterday and told me that Lexi won the challenge, and so I decided that maybe I could be the dog owner of the family. His name is Horseradish. His name is Thumper, Dad, I said. Dad shrugged. One of the great things about having your own dog is you get to name him. I've always liked the name Horseradish, which is kind of like a spicy mustard, or a spicy mayo. I questioned Dad's choice of names, but I couldn't question his choice of dogs. I bent down, and Horseradish ran over to me, leaping on my knees and licking my face, and I grabbed him and rolled on the floor, rubbing him as his tail wagged and his tongue raced up and down my cheek. Horseradish was the rolling around type of dog. He was the licking type of dog. He was the loving and happy type of dog. But most important, he was my very own dog. Almost. And really, those are the best kind of dogs of all. Can I started to say. You can come over and play with him whenever you want, said Dad, stepping into the front hall and closing the door behind him. You too, Lexi. Lexi still held Fluffy, and she came closer, slowly. Fluffy didn't seem scared. She just stared at Horseradish with her curious black eyes, and Horseradish barked happily. When Lexi sat down closer, Horseradish nudged Fluffy playfully with his nose. I think he likes her, said Dad. I'm sure they'll be best friends, Mom laughed. I bet this was all her idea. Can I take him for a walk, I asked. Oh, of course, you're the expert, Dad smiled. Is it okay, Mom? I asked. I'm still grounded. Okay, go ahead, she said with a wide grin. I ran to the mudroom and grabbed my shoes and jacket, where I had hung them the day before. Come on, boy! I beamed, grabbing the leash from Dad. I know a whole bunch of good trails we can take. And Dad, we really need to talk about his name. Fluffy meowed goodbye, or at least meowed, and I was off with Horseradish. But horseradish is still much better than fluffernutter, I added, shouting over my shoulder as I stepped outside. I had soccer practice that night. I showed up on time, and Coach Drago hardly ever screamed at me at all. We played a scrimmage, and I scored 2 goals, the last one after I faked the one, kicked the other, and left my defender so confused he tripped, leaving me a wide open shot. Malcolm scored 3 goals, and you know what? We both played on the first team, Malcolm on the left and me on the right. But I bet we'd be really good no matter who started. After all, it takes a team to win a game, just like it takes a team to win a war. Pet War. It took a team to get this book to you, and we hope everyone with our Holbert families loved this book as much as we did.